what the city is talking about, the news that impacts you. Welcome to the Montreal Now podcast with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Welcome to another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and this week we'll take a look at these stories. There's no federal election in sight, but a new national poll might be a reason for concern for the government because it shows fully 2/3 of Canadians agree with the statement that everything in Canada is broken. We'll speak to the lead researcher in that polling.
This was a tough week with a lot of heavy news, so I think we all kind of needed something to smile about, and it came courtesy of 100-year-old Jean Morrison. She became famous last year as the dancing granny who was rocking out during the Super Bowl halftime show. This interview absolutely made our week, and Jean is guaranteed to make you smile.
Now that we're over a month into the new year, chances are many of us have sadly already given up on those resolutions we made back in December, especially if they involved foods and diets. We're going to talk to a New York Times columnist who sought out expert opinion on 10 food myths they wish would go away in 2023. She'll shed some light on some things they say you shouldn't have to worry about when it comes to diet this year. And we'll also hear from music historian Eric Alper on the passing of legendary composer Burt Bacharach.
But we begin with this. The unimaginable happened this week when a man drove a bus into a Laval daycare, killing 2 children. It was a tragic and chaotic scene as parents arrived trying to find out whether or not their kids were okay. We spoke to the dad of a 2-year-old girl who was at the daycare that morning, and as you can imagine, he spent an excruciating few hours waiting to be reunited with her.
First, I want to thank the 3 opposition leaders for being here to show solidarity, to show that all Quebecers, 8.5 million people, are supporting people that were involved. Of course, it's tough because we're talking about children, and there's nothing more important than children. Personally, most stress I can have in my life is to make sure my children are happy. So I think we don't have to hesitate to get some psychological help. It's important and it's necessary for many people. So don't hesitate, even if you feel strong, to ask or accept this help. And I want to thank the men that were involved, all people who were involved right after, in the next seconds after it happened. And the only thing I can say is courage. Ask for everybody, and 100% of Quebecers support the people here in Laval.
Premier François Legault from earlier today out at the site of that accident yesterday in Laval. And on the line right now, by the way, again, just to mention off the top, it's important, I think, and it's some good news coming from this. 2 of the children who were in hospital have now been released, which is good news in itself. Bruno Belzile is the father of a 2-year-old girl at Garderie educative, Sainte-Rose, where this tragedy took place yesterday. He's on the line right now. Mr. Belzile, thanks for being here today.
You're welcome.
Let me first ask you have a 2-year-old child. How is she doing?
She's fine. A bit stressed about the event yesterday. Loud sounds make her react more than usual. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, she's uninjured.
Okay.
That's what we hope.
That's good to hear right off the top. I wanted to make sure we knew that.
And how about you, Bruno? I imagine it was one of the most stressful days of your entire life.
Yes. It was a very difficult day. And the wait, we had to wait for about 2 hours to know that she was safe. It was very difficult. Another parent told us that she saw Chloe with the other children that were not injured, but we didn't know for sure. It was until when they named all the injured children in where all the parents were, that we knew that she was safe.
Okay, how did you find out about what had happened? When did you get there? What was the timeline? Can you tell us?
It was about a bit after 9 in the morning. I saw on my cell phone a notification from I don't remember which news outlet about a bus that ran a daycare, and just at the beginning I thought it was somewhere else. in the U.S. or something, and then I saw that it was my daycare. Time stopped, so I just took off. I ran to the daycare, which was about a mile from my house. And when I arrived there, the police stopped us from going to the daycare. So they regrouped everyone at the nearby school to wait for some answers.
Oh my
So wait,
God.
you couldn't even get
Oh my
to the
God.
actual school. Police would not let you go there at the time because they were obviously dealing with this incident. So no parent could get close.
Yeah, exactly. The way to the daycare was blocked.
Oh.
So the place where all the parents had to go was the nearby elementary school.
So you got there, you said at roughly 9 o'clock. We know this happened. I think they said the first call came in at around 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. When did you first get word about what your daughter or what her condition was, whether she was okay?
It was about a bit before noon.
Oh my
So-
God. Oh my God, Bruno.
Yeah.
What?
Noon.
Okay, so you're there on the site. You can't get close. You don't know if your daughter's okay or not. Tell us what that time was like for you.
It was very stressful. There were some ups and downs because we were told at one point that if we didn't have the call that our child was injured, our child should be okay. But then after 1 hour and a half, a friend of us received a call that her children was at the hospital.
Oh no.
And she thought she was safe because she didn't have the call before, but it wasn't really the case. So we weren't sure at that point if everything was fine. So we had to wait until they named every children that was injured.
So you just described the situation. Here's another parent, and she did not find out that her daughter had in fact ended up in hospital until an hour and a half later?
Yes, it took some time. I guess they tried to reach her at her house or something. I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
But it took a while before she learned that her daughter was at the hospital.
Bruno, do you know how
The
that?
good thing is that she wasn't badly injured.
Right, she was okay.
So she's okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
Now, can I just ask you, so you're there with other parents at this point in the high school, right?
Yes.
What's going on? What are they all saying to each other? What's the general sort of feeling there? Were they just wondering why they're not being given any information?
Well, we understood that the police didn't want to give us too preliminary information that could be wrong. So we understood that it took some time. We were discussing among each other, trying to figure out who wasn't there, because we know most of the parents at the daycare. So if someone wasn't there, it wasn't good news.
Oh, no.
So trying to figure out who was injured that way.
Did you have anyone from the police or from anyone with you at the time, or you just left there to kind of wait for a phone call?
No. The police was there. The firefighters were there. There was also the urgence sociale was
Good.
there. There's always someone checking in with us every few minutes to making sure that it wasn't too much for us and giving us all the information they had. Which wasn't much, but they did the most they could do in the circumstances.
So then, Bruno, you had to wait far too long for it, but you finally do find out that your 2-year-old daughter is okay, that she's safe, she's not harmed. But then you also by then know that 2 other children did not make it. What were those moments like?
It was difficult. We had a good idea who it was. One of them was a friend of my older twin girls, which were at the daycare last year. So it is difficult to hear that news. Yeah.
So sorry.
It's a day later now. You mentioned off the top your daughter is okay. You mentioned about loud noises still being an issue. How do you process all this a day after the fact?
Well, there's some ups and downs. We are thinking about what happened, what could have been different if we arrived 20 minutes later. My wife dropped Chloe about a bit after 8, so it wasn't long before the incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was 15 minutes later, she might have been in that same room, because sometimes we drop her off in the front room instead of the other room where she was. So every small details could have make the outcome very different for us. So we're thankful that she wasn't unarmed. She wasn't armed, but we think about the other parents and the daycare educators that took care of our girl during these hours, to making sure that she was okay and the other kids were okay, even though what happened.
Are you getting the support and the help that you and your family need now, Bruno?
Yes, we have from the family, from my job, from the job my wife's jobs. We also had a call in the afternoon yesterday from the family ministry to have a new place for our daughter as soon as possible. So we have a lot of resources given to us to make it true.
I don't think any of us can imagine what it must have been like as a parent of one of those kids in that daycare yesterday. Thank God that your daughter is okay. And we thank you so much for coming on. Wish you nothing but the best for you and your whole family. Thanks so much, Bruno.
Thank you very much.
And just sorry for your loss, since it was a friend of your twins as well. And, our heart just goes out to you. Thank you, Bruno.
Thank you.
Informative, interactive, and always interesting. This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
There's no federal election in sight, but a new national poll might be reason for concern for the government, because it shows fully 2/3 of Canadians agree with the statement that everything in Canada is broken. We'll speak to the lead researcher in that polling. We talked about this just after 4 o'clock, a new poll out by Leger, which shows that a majority of Canadians, 67% according to this poll, think everything in Canada is broken. Echoing the exact same phrase that Pierre Poilievre has been using for the past couple of weeks, and it seems that catchphrase is either caught on or something we didn't think was going on up until he said it is in fact actually happening. Andrew ENNS is an executive vice president of Leger's Central Canada operations. He's also lead researcher for this particular data. He's on the line right now. Thank you, Mr. ENNS, for your time today.
Thanks for having me on, Aaron. Good to join you guys.
Yeah, let's start by talking about the first of all, the methodology involved here. I'm kind of curious as to why you asked this question to begin with.
It stemmed from a conversation a small group of us, were having in terms of some different topics that we could investigate public opinion. And it's one that's popped up, I think, a few times over the year in terms of just different points where all of a sudden we're bombarded in the media with things that we would normally take for granted, just not working. Traveling, just before Christmas, it seemed that was just the biggest adventure in the world, and getting home from a destination seemed next to impossible. Earlier in the summer, it was passports or lost luggage at some of the bigger airports. So it's just a reoccurring, a bit of a theme, a kind of a conversation point, and then we thought with healthcare stuff that we're hearing lots about, we thought, maybe there's something to it. And I will say, there's one of us in the group, not myself, was fairly active in Twitter, and he said, you see the tweet every now and then, a la Mr. Poilievre, in terms of, everything feels broken. And so one thing led to another.
Okay.
And then I'm curious specifically about the findings that it seems more women say that they are angry, and they say that they report that Canada is broken at a higher rate than men. Can you tell us a little bit about those findings? It's so interesting.
Well, for sure. And it was interesting, certainly to us when we looked at the results. I think, though, when I step back and think about it, in other research that we've done, we are seeing that when it comes to some of the affordability challenges, the impact of rising inflation, the complaints about grocery food prices, the worries about making ends meet, we do see that being more acute amongst women, and I think in part because I think women are, still very, very involved in sort of those day-to-day household operations and some of those decisions, and I think they're feeling the changes maybe more acutely than I might say men are. And then the other point I'll make, Natasha, is that healthcare is also an issue that cuts more closely for women than it does for men, and I think we're seeing that issue a lot, and we're hearing a lot about long waits, and in particular some of the issues around pediatric care that was just before Christmas and over Christmas, where it seems to be some of the struggles there. And so I think some of these issues maybe are a bit more acute, and therefore the sentiment may be a little stronger amongst women than maybe we anticipated.
I think one of the other parts of this that's interesting is the fact we would have all assumed in seeing results of the survey like this that it would have been older Canadians who would have been the ones to simply say, we think it's all broken and we were here before, things were better before. It's not. Your survey shows it's younger Canadians, in fact.
Yeah, again, sort of along the similar lines with maybe the surprise when it came to gender. We do see the same, I had the same feeling as you, Aaron, that I thought, well, okay, it'll be the older, kind of the grumpy old man sort of thing. And it turns out that younger Canadians, 18 to 34, actually are expressing sort of this, everything feels broken, or a bit higher on the anger quotient. And I think in part, and it's an issue that we've been hearing a lot about, is the ability to buy a house, and some of these affordability issues that when you think of a 25, 30-year-old and making those big life decisions, we've heard lots of conversation around these things are becoming, they're out of reach. And in some markets, I don't know about Montreal, but I know certainly in some markets, it's actually infiltrating into even being able to rent a decent apartment is getting hard to reach. And those are really prominent activities for that generation and that cohort.
I find myself just wondering, if you ask this same group of people, do you think on the whole that Canada is a pretty good place to live, that they also might actually respond yes. I mean, obviously you can't guess on that, but what's your feeling on it?
My gut would say I think you're probably right, and I'll be honest. Sometimes in the coverage of our in our poll, sometimes the things got a little bit shorthanded in terms of Canada is broken, and I might be kind of guilty in that. I think it's more to be fair. The statement was, do you feel things in Canada are broken? And I don't know if that's a statement that says, I don't know if Canada is broken. I think it's still, as you would say, I think if we asked, would you choose to live anywhere else? I think you'd still get a large number. But I think what it points to is that I think people are just a bit disappointed how things currently are going and kind of expect better.
It's interesting, though, as I read the story on the survey, to note that, and I think we said this in our question, if this was a Google review or a Yelp review and they were this uniformly bad, there'd be serious reason for concern. But of course, we're not in an election cycle, at least yet. Have you ever seen anything like this before, where people seem so angry, 67% of people, at a government in power?
I can't say from sort of the public opinion standpoint, but I do still have a few recollections of sort of going back to, I'd say, early 90s when the GST came in. I think there was some pretty strong hostility to the, I think then it was the conservative, progressive conservative government at the time. I think there's probably some, back then there was some pretty good groundswell, and it might even be probably more back then. Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I don't know whether or not there's any sort of need to sort of pull the fire alarm in terms of what does this mean for an election, whether it's federal or provincial. I think where it does send a signal is that if you view for government, this is the opinion of your customers. It's not a great, it's not good right now. If you're a business and that's if you these are your customers, you need to take note and you need to probably do better. And I think that's kind of the challenge for government right now, is that, people aren't happy. So what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think as important, I mean, this word that I keep seeing here, which is angry, typically you ask someone you're not happy with something that are unhappy, but half the people you surveyed actually said when you asked them how things were being managed, they used that word, right? They used the word angry.
Exactly. It was 50%. And the interesting thing there, Aaron, was when you look at, I like looking at sometimes within those questions, some of those intensity measures. So we had an option as very happy, and we had an option at the other end of the scale, very angry. 4% said they were very happy, and 20% said they were very angry. 20% is a minority, don't get me wrong, but it's still a lot of people. And I think, again, that's the challenge for policymakers and governments of all levels, is to say, hey, you know what, we've got to take the edge off of this. We've got to find a way to turn the temperature down a bit, because it's hard to have a good public policy debate when people are angry. Like they're not really in a listening frame of mind.
Sure. I also find myself thinking, though, Andrew, that so much about the power of suggestion, right? Like if you hear over and over again that everything is broken and that people are angry, then you kind of get on board. Yeah, I'm angry too. I'm wondering about sort of the provincial breakdown. Did you see much of a disparity from one coast to the next as to how angry people are?
Well, there was a little bit. Like we did see, we saw sort of on the anger question, for example, we saw things pop up a bit in Alberta. And a bit lower in British Columbia and Quebec and Ontario. The prairies were on the high. So Western Canada, for example, 54% angry versus Eastern Canada, 47%.
Yeah, as you might
expect. So there's some
yeah.
distinction there.
But so it sounds like everybody's angry, but just some people are a little more angry.
Exactly, a little bit. And, I think when you look at the Western Canada, I mean, what stokes that a little bit is that you add in, I think, a bit of friction on the energy file. Ottawa's, it's been, not that well kept secret. I mean, there's some, there's a bit of animosity between Ottawa and Alberta, and maybe that infiltrates some of these feelings as well.
Think? Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I would just say, when we asked this question earlier on in the show, Andrew, someone had a great text which simply said, let's ask this or take this survey again after the long, cold winter. Let's do it in the spring and see what happens then. So maybe keep that in mind. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me in your program. First time. Thanks, guys.
Happy to have you here. Andrew ENNS over at Leger Marketing on this poll that shows that 67% of Canadians think everything in Canada is broken.
But there's something to that texter that said, at this time of the year, in the doldrums of February, we're pretty pessimistic in general.
See how we are in April, May.
Spring, yeah, exactly.
Asking questions, looking for answers. Here's more of Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
This was a tough week with a lot of heavy news, so I think we all kind of needed something to smile about, and it came courtesy of 100-year-old Jean Morrison. She became famous last year as the dancing granny who was rocking out during the Super Bowl halftime show. This interview absolutely made our week, and Jean is guaranteed to make you smile.
Let's get it funk up in this dancery. We got y'all open.
So this is the Mary J. Blige song called Family Affair that got our next guest rocking. Because Mary J. Blige, one of the performers last year, during a really good halftime show last year.
It was so great. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent. And Jean Morrison was rocking out to it. In fact, she became a viral sensation, and she was just 99 and a half years old when it happened.
She's much older now.
In Winnipeg, and her grandson posted a video. You may have seen her, and we had a chance to catch up with her then, and we wanted to see how she's doing now. She is 100 and a half years old now.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
What are you doing right now, can I ask?
I'm just waiting to be interviewed.
Oh, good for you. That's a good thing to do.
By Aaron and Natasha.
Yeah, that's us. I'm Aaron. That's Natasha.
Hi, Jean.
And I've had a wonderful year, actually.
Oh, do
and
tell.
lots of good things happened to me, I have to say. The family got together for the 100th, in August, for the 100th anniversary, and they came from right across Canada, from the East Coast to the West Coast and in between, and we had a really wonderful party.
Isn't
lots
that nice?
of dancing and lots of singing.
I hope so. I hope you were doing most of the dancing, Jean.
Well, it's hard to keep me down when the music's playing.
Wow. That's
And
just
I
like me.
understand
Yeah.
The person well, I just have to say, there's one thing I had to live down over the last year, and that is when Snoop Dogg called me the big boss bitch. And, I mean, everybody likes to be recognized, but to everybody calling me now the big boss bitch doesn't go very well when people are 100 years old.
It doesn't go very well back where you are?
Well, they laugh. But, I mean, how about that on my tombstone? Gene Morrison, the big boss bitch.
I love that.
Gene, you are the best.
That's great.
Oh, and Snoop Dogg. I mean, Snoop Dogg's a fan, too. That's pretty darn cool. I hear Mary J. Blige also a fan. So, listen, when we spoke to you last, you were living in Winnipeg, but I understand that you've now moved a lot closer to us.
Well, exactly. That's why I moved. To be
closer to us.
you.
That's very sweet. Do you do stand-up as well, or do you just dance?
No, but I'm saying I for demographic reasons, I had to move from Winnipeg to Montreal, basically, and it all worked out very well. But I have to say, there's a few problems happened, but not too many.
Okay. Well, where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Montreal. So I'm a
okay.
CJD fan way back. I'm trying to remember the name Black. What was his first name?
Ted Blackman.
Oh, exactly. And I was involved when he died because his theme song was the Teddy Bear Picnic, if you remember that.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm not going into a whole story about that because I'd like to talk about what's happening now.
Well, hold on, though. Let me ask you. First of all, I had no idea you were originally from here because I know we'd said you were out in Winnipeg. So you remember CJD, so you remember George Balkan back in the day?
I do, and I remember when he was dying, the tragedy of it.
Yeah,
so we don't
after
need
he'd
to
retired.
talk about that today.
No, we don't, because we're talking about exciting stuff that's coming up. The Super Bowl is on Sunday. It's only a couple of days away. What are your plans?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Naomi? Rihanna.
Oh, you'll love it.
Her song is Keep Dancing. Don't stop the music. Keep dancing.
Yes.
Something like that.
Exactly.
So I'll be sitting in my chair all ready to sing with her.
And dance and shake your booty.
Now, do you?
Well, booties are more like hanging baskets now. I'm sorry to say.
Gene, you are the absolute best. So you said that you had a big year, lots of things happened, and you said there was something in particular you wanted to talk to us about. What did you want to talk to us about, Gene?
Well, there's two things I could talk about, actually. When the Alouettes won the special game in the Grey Cup, which ties in a little bit with what's happening. Or the other one is, my routine now is laughter in the face of death. And something happened that I think is very funny to me.
Okay.
Which one do you want?
Let's go with the last one.
All right. And so the paramedics came to the residence, which was the Heritage Lodge in Valleykill. And I don't know whether you know or not, but once they get to the hospital, you don't go. You don't get to the hospital until the doctor comes and take your records, etc. And you know the problems that we're having with that. So things were getting a bit long, and I thought I was in the black hole of Calcutta, and all of a sudden the paramedics started to laugh. And I thought, oh, laughter, wonderful. I said, what's happening? Why are you laughing? Well, they were flabbergasted that the paramedics were caught laughing. And I insisted that they tell me what happened. Apparently, they'd been to a case before me, and the lady had broken her hip, and she was up against the bathtub. And he said to her, he got down on her level and put his hand on her hip to solidify the broken hip. And then he said to the woman, now put your arm around, because he's now at her level, put your arms around my neck and hold tight, because we have to move you gently from the bathtub. And she said, well, if you're going to be that personal with me, kiss me first. And then she did what he said, and then he was holding onto her other hip. And then he realized that we talk about our rosebuds when we're young, but actually, as he said, he was holding on to the hanging basket.
And that's where the hanging baskets come from.
That's where the hanging basket comes in.
Oh, Gene.
And so, of course, we laughed, and again I say laughter in the face of death. I could just get myself out of that hole I was in, and everything went very well.
Good for you.
And the other thing I'd just like to mention is, I ask you a question now. What is the similarity between the Super Bowl and the residential houses for senior citizens?
What is the difference between the
No, what is the similarity?
Oh, the similarity between the Super Bowl and residential houses for seniors.
Yeah.
I give up.
They both have to have a full team operating if they're going to win. And I'd just like to say at this point, I have fantastic praise for the homes for senior citizens that I've experienced. And that was Sterling House in Winnipeg, and now I'm at Heritage Lodge in Van Leek Hill. The dedication of the workers, terrible hours, and as you know lately, terrible weather for them. And they fill in for each other, and I even hear them laughing in the corridors. So, I mean, what did it say? Roses to them, or hearts off to them, or hats off to them.
That's
and
sweet.
hats off's good. Now we bring in Mary Jane.
There you go.
Jean, you're an absolute treasure to talk to. We
Hats
wish
off
you
to
all
you.
the best. And listen, we're going to kind of walk you into Sunday's game. This is what you're going to be hearing, Jean, so you have a little bit of practice. Can you hear this? You okay to dance to that?
Are you saying that has already been chosen?
Oh, we don't know for sure.
That's one of the songs she'll be singing.
No, but that's one that you suggested.
Oh, we talked to her ourselves. Yeah, sure.
Not so much.
I think you have more pull with her.
We're on the same level.
Oh, yes, for
Jean,
sure.
thank you so much for your time today. Wish you all the best. We're going to check in with you after Super Bowl II. Is that okay?
But I'm just saying, talk about a team. There's no better team than you and Natasha.
Oh, you're very sweet to say
Jean,
that.
You are so
Jean,
awesome.
we love you.
We love you, Jean.
That's all nice talk, isn't it?
It is.
We'll talk to you
And
after.
we're eating it all up.
We'll
There
talk
you
to you
go.
after the
Jean
Super Bowl.
Morrison, she is 100. Jean, when's your birthday?
August the 28th.
You'll be 101?
I'm a virgin.
That's good to know. Jean Morrison, 100 years old. She'll be rocking out to the Super Bowl. Thank you, Jean. All the best to you.
The stories in the news that are worth your time. Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Now that we're over a month into the new year, chances are many of us have sadly already given up on those resolutions we made back in December, especially if they involved foods and diets. We're going to talk to a New York Times columnist who sought out expert opinion on 10 food myths they wish would go away in 2023. She'll shed some light on some things they say you shouldn't have to worry about when it comes to diet this year. And we'll also hear from music historian Eric Alper on the passing of legendary composer Burt Bacharach. I saw this next story in the New York Times. I thought we definitely got to do this. Beginning of the year, it's always important to get some really good new information and try to follow it, isn't it? Well, our next guest did that. Sophie Egan is an author. She's a New York Times columnist, and I came across a column, I think this was last week. It is the 10 nutrition myths that we need to get rid of in 2023. I love this. So,
Me too.
Sophie is on the line. Thanks so much for your time, Sophie. You started by, you're not answering these questions. You actually went out and you asked a variety of nutrition experts, each to provide you with one thing, right?
That's right. Yes, we spoke to 10 nutrition experts and wanted to know what was the nutrition myth they wished would most go away and why. So I'll quickly share with you what those 10 were. Myth number 1 was that fresh fruits and vegetables are always healthier than canned, frozen, or dried varieties. Remember, these are the myths. These are not true.
Okay.
Second myth was that all fat is bad. Number 3, calories in, calories out is the most important factor for long-term weight gain. Number 4, people with type 2 diabetes shouldn't eat fruit. Number 5, plant milk is healthier than dairy milk. 6, white potatoes are bad for you. 7, you should never feed peanut products to your children within the first few years of life. 8, the protein in plants is incomplete. 9, eating soy-based foods can increase the risk of breast cancer. And the 10th and final was that kind of recap of all of the above. Fundamental nutrition advice keeps changing a lot. So these are not true, and these are the myths that just drive these nutrition experts crazy. So they had the chance to set the record straight.
I want to go back and start. We don't have a lot of time to go through
so
them all,
good,
but I
though?
want to start with the first one. Fresh fruits and vegetables are always healthier than canned, frozen, or dried varieties. That's the myth. Why?
Right. So actually, there's a kind of an ethos in our culture that fresh is always better. But it also has to do from a behavioral perspective. You might be able to afford access, store, not have food waste with the other types. So which are the kinds that you're actually going to eat? That goes a long way. But then the actual inherent nutritional value in fruits and vegetables when they're canned or frozen or dried is actually on par.
What do you know?
Number one.
The one that struck me is this: plant health is healthier than dairy milk. I just assumed that was true, so that is not true.
Right. So this is just a reminder that, sometimes the marketing, we can get carried away. In general, foods from the plant kingdom are, by and large, better for our health, and that's actually a big theme throughout these myths. Loading up on fresh fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and so forth. But sometimes we think that just because it says plant-based, it's healthier. And actually, some of these milks have high amounts of added sodium or sugar, which can contribute to poor health.
So plant milk is, in fact, not healthier than regular milk, dairy milk. How about this one? I love this because it's so general, but it makes so much sense. All fat is bad. That's what we've been programmed to believe.
This is the one that has endured the longest in pop culture, right? But it actually goes to the point that the type of fat is what matters more. And so long we internalize this idea that low fat equals healthy, that fat makes you fat, and so forth. But there are a lot of important healthy fats, unsaturated fats, and it's really the saturated fats and trans fats that we need to be mindful of.
By the way, just so people understand, when you say there are some fats, we kind of left it open that way. We're talking about things like fish and other than meats. What are we talking about in the fats?
Right. So foods that contain fats, there's a wide range, but so you have the unsaturated fats, polyunsaturated, which are found in, for example, sunflower and other plant oils, walnuts, fish and flax seeds, and then monounsaturated fats. So also like olive oil, avocados, nuts and seeds, and so forth. And the saturated fats tend to be in more, red meat, butter, that type of food.
Okay.
I'm going to go right to myth number 10 before we run out of time, because this idea that fundamental nutrition advice keeps changing a lot. So in reality, the fundamentals have remained the same?
Yeah, and this is kind of the key takeaway, right, which is that the science does evolve, for sure. And there are examples in here, especially, for example, about allergies, where the research really does illuminate new guidance. And so there's nuance, there's refinement, all of that for sure. But the bottom line dietary guidance has been rather consistent over the years. That's what Dr. Marion Nestle really wants us to remember. And she points to the author, Michael Pollan, who managed to sum it all up in 7 simple words. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. The end.
That's it. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants. The end. Sophie, thank you so much.
The last two.
Yeah, I love these. These are great. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Happy eating.
You too.
I want to read her book now. So her book is How to Be a Conscious Eater, Making Food Choices That Are Good for You, Others, and the Planet. That was Sophie EGAN.
I also love this. We didn't get to, because there's 10 things on this list. This part that says, people with diabetes shouldn't eat fruits, thinking that the sugar in fruits can't work with diabetes. That's a myth.
Yeah.
All right. According to this as well. If you want to read the article, it's in the New York Times. Her name, if you want to just check it out, is Sophie EGAN. That's EGAN. Some interesting stuff in there. I love that. Eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
That's pretty
Same
straightforward.
advice for 70 years.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Eric Alper, who joins us from time to time when we talk music, because he's a bit of a music historian himself. Yeah. Eric, thanks very much for being here. We appreciate it today.
No problem. Happy to do it. And, by my estimations, I think Burt Bacharach wrote 40% of the songs that we sing. It's just he wrote for 1,000 different artists.
Wow.
He had just over 70 top 40 hits here in Canada and in the U.S. And anybody that can write for the Carpenters and Tom Jones and Dusty Springfield and Jackie DeShannon and on and on and on and on, and then still have hits in the 80s and 90s when artists are recording them, it's astonishing what kind of career he had, and we may never see the likes of him ever again.
That's such interesting perspective to have when you consider, it's one thing, I think a lot of people at the beginning of his career, because Dionne Warwick had so many of the songs that he had written that became hits, we forget so many other artists, as you just went down that list, have sung his songs, including one of my favorites, and I think maybe overlooked, Eric, the Stylistics had songs written by Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, I mean, even Magic Moments by Perry Como, and I get it. I get that sometimes people are like kind of, snooty, and this is like nothing more than soft rock. But, the Beatles' biggest song yesterday is soft rock. Here Comes the Sun is soft rock. And the major difference between, when you're talking about the greatest songwriters of all time, Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, Elton John, they were writing for themselves. They never really wrote for other people. The fact that Bert and his partner Hal David was able to connect with so many different types of singers and have those songs connect with the audience was so rare that it's really remarkable when you think about, That's What Friends Are For in the 80s, or Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head in the 60s. This guy was a absolute dreamer and a romantic, and when you talk about the swinging 60s, that's his music. While the world is kind of swirling around the wars of Vietnam and all the stuff and all the changes with the sexual revolution and birth control and women's rights, those songs that people were kind of grooving to during the week and on the weekend, that was all his.
And Eric, you know what I kind of, it's sort of an old-fashioned sound, and yet there's a total timelessness to his music. We were telling our producer, Emily, who's in her 20s, you might not know the name, but you know his songs, and you can probably sing along with them.
It's not even that she may know the songs. It's the fact that the sound that he helped invent in the first place is still done to... Whenever an artist, even today, like a Drake or Justin Bieber, whenever they say, we want strings, we want a horn section, that's Burt Bacharach. That's the moment that they want to. And then he was able to do it in so many different decades. Look, I remember when the entire Austin Powers trilogy was based on really his swinging styles of the 60s, and the fact that Burt was in all three of the movies really showed that he really transformed music. I mean, his music was all over American Idol, bringing a whole new generation of people to his songs, because no matter if you're Drake, no matter if you're Justin Bieber or Dionne Warwick, you have to have melody and you have to have something that the average person can sing and hum to. And the fact that we're still talking about these songs 60 years later, that has to count for something.
By the way, I saw Stephen Bishop, who I follow on Twitter, post today, just heard the news about Burt Bacharach passing away. He said he's considered by Stephen, but one of the greatest songwriters of our generation is gone. I'll always think of Burt Bacharach as the king of melody, which I thought, wow,
that's really good.
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. Hey, Eric, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking a couple of minutes with us today. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thank you so much for having me. We'll talk
You bet.
soon.
Eric Alper out in Toronto, music historian on Burt Bacharach, having passed today at the age of 94.
Beautiful tribute from Eric. He always absolutely nails it.
So, look, as I said, for me, this is kind of one of the soundtracks of a generation. And if you're over the age of 50,
I think it goes
40?
multi-generational, because there were comebacks. Remember, we said like in the movies, and then Dionne Warwick, it's forever.
So when we were having our meeting this morning and we just found out that he had died, I said, I'll try to put something together so people, because not everyone will necessarily know that he wrote that song. You'll recognize the song and not recognize that Burt Bacharach wrote it. So here's a little, our own little tribute today, the music of Burt Bacharach.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Raindrops are falling on my head.
What do you get when you fall in love? A guy with a pen to thirst your love. Do you know the way to San Jose? I've been away so long, I may go wrong and lose my way.
Wishing and hoping and thinking and praying.
The look of love is in your eyes.
You'll never get to heaven if you break my heart. Make it easy on yourself. If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Oh, how can I forget you when there is always something there to remind me what's it all about?
That wraps up another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and we will see you next week.
Have a fantastic week.